the most consequential, I would say, boycott, maybe in modern American business history. I can't think of a more consequential boycott than what has happened to Bud Light. Every single week now, the amount of Bud Light being consumed sets a new low. Nearly 30% decline so far as we move into June. There are now reports that Bud Light is so desperate for its product to be consumed that they are considering just giving it away for July 4th because the beer will go bad if it's not bought. You guys have continued to send us clips and footage since May when I did the experiment, Buck, to see whether or not anybody would actually drink Bud Light. It's only gotten worse since then. You guys have sent all sorts of photos and videos of people buying every beer but Bud Light. It has become so consequential, this collapse in Bud Light market share, that they now are the second most popular beer in America, probably trending towards third or fourth as their market share collapses. Meanwhile, Miller Lite and Coors Light have been the beneficiaries. This infestation, for lack of a better way to describe it, of the woke virus has now spread, by the way, from Bud Light to Budweiser and also to Mick Ultra, which are under the same larger parent company. So, Buck, things have gotten so bad that the CEO of Budweiser decided, hey, I need to speak out. I'm going to go on CBS's morning show, and it didn't go very well for him. He was asked whether he would still make the same decision as it pertains to Dylan Mulvaney. I believe we have a cut of what it's fair to say was a disastrous attempt at rehabbing the Budweiser brand. Here it is.
I asked you, would you do it again? And people on the trans rights side of things, supporting that community, want you to say, yes, of course. We want that fortitude. And people on the right would criticize you for saying yes. So where are you on the issue? I mean, was this a mistake?
You know, Bud Light has supported LGBTQ since 1998. So that's 25 years. And as we've said from the beginning, we'll continue to support the communities and organizations that we've supported for decades. Mm-hmm. But as we move forward, we want to focus on what we do best, which is brewing great beer for everyone, listening to our consumers, being humble and listening to them, making sure that we do right by our employees, take care and support our partners, and ultimately make an impact in the communities that we serve.
It's just not good enough. That's just not going to work.
It's just so bland.
At a minimum, he's got to say, I understand, right? We know what's going on here. He doesn't want the activists to come after him from the other side because, while the beer drinkers are not activists, it doesn't matter. The activists of the LGBTQIA++ community have a lot of funding and a lot of power in corporate America as a result of, many years of building up this machinery. But what he could say is, look, it's a mistake for us to get political at all. We disrespected our audience by doing so. We will never make that mistake again. Take ownership. This whole, we just like to make beer and we just want to focus on the beer. It's like, yeah, we get that that's what you want to say now, but what happened was disrespectful and really an affront to your core audience or core consumer in this case. Accept that, be honest about it, ask for their forgiveness, and say, this is never going to be an issue again. Bud Light is an American beer for Americans, and we don't do the politics thing. We don't squabble. We don't lecture. We don't undermine people. We don't hate people. We just want everyone to enjoy. There's a way to do it, and the way to do it is not corporate doublespeak because you're afraid of, because really what the LGBTQIA++ community wants is for him to bend the knee again.
Yeah.
Because if he shows that the lesson learned is some consumers don't want that stuff, that activism, other companies might get wise to this too. So they won't let this go, and he knows that. That's why he's caught in the middle here. But ultimately, if you're a company, your consumer is your boss. That's the part of this. Dude, I said this to you. I mean, yes, we have a boss, iHeartMedia, but really, who do we work for? Yeah. We work for this audience that Rush built over decades. We work for the audience, and in that sense, the audience is our boss. Bud Light works for the consumers of their beer. And they forgot that. And they still don't really want to go back to basics here, go back to first principles as look, it is a great American brand, or it was.
Yeah, Buck, this was the entire thesis of my last book. And I took a quote that Michael Jordan has now admitted to saying that I think every CEO should emblazon in his mindset. And he was asked, why did he not get political? Why did Michael Jordan never really step into any elections in the 80s or the 90s or the early 2000s? You know what he said? Republicans buy sneakers too. And I think it's just such a smart quote, right? If your goal is to only service one segment of the population, then I understand. If you're Bud Light and you're like, we want to be the beer of the trans community, that is our identity, then I would say, okay, this makes sense. But if you're that big of a brand, you want everyone to drink your beer. You can't be the number one beer in America and only serve Republicans or only serve Democrats or only serve independents. And that guy, and look, I'm sure the CEO has probably been bathing basically in PR consultants. And what you end up doing when you bathe in PR consultants is you don't sound like a real person. I think so many politicians have this same disease. You guys sometimes hear them on this show. When they talk, they don't sound like somebody that you're having a beer with. And if that CEO wants to connect with America, he has to sound like somebody who has a beer would sound like. And what I would say is a lot of what you said. Hey, we want every single American to drink our beer. And if we made the choice and we ended up alienating football fans and we ended up alienating blue collar workers, which you did, and we ended up alienating dudes out there in America by saying our humor was too fratty and they were out of touch, we blew it. And we shouldn't have done that. And that's why we fired our marketing execs, because we lost touch with who we are and who we were. And I'm going to fix that. It's not scripted. I just said that. I think it would play well, and it's natural, it's authentic, and it's real. The fact that these guys can't do that is, I think, a testament to what happens to so many of these brands, Buck, and you know it. You get big enough, and then you start listening to the people in New York and L.A. who were never in your base, and they don't understand your audience, and you end up looking like a fool.
You get these CEOs who really just care about what the foursome at the $500,000 to join golf club think about what's going on, and not what their core customers and consumers need, believe, want, and the way to best serve them. I've been mentioning the LGBTQIA+++ community. I think it's also worth noting, Clay, that people are starting to get a funny feeling about some of this. And not just those of us who are on the right, but more broadly, like, what's going on here? This was from one of the Pride parades. It was actually here in New York City. We have the audio of this. Here they are saying, chanting. Well, I'll let you hear it from them. Play. Okay, I guess they said it the one time there, but the other times they said, we're here, we're coming for your children. And this was a chant that was heard there. It was also said other places, and we know that not only because of the video of this now. Isn't it amazing how many people, everyone walks around with the ability to go viral at any moment based on what they see if they record it. It's really changed our perception of what's happening in a whole. Otherwise, if you had to rely on standard news organizations to tell you that there are pride parades where there are activists or just, people participating in this saying, we're coming for your children. Very strange. NBC News trying to clean up this, because people say, what is that all about? What do you mean you're coming for our children? NBC News wrote, the coming for your children chant has been used for years at pride events, according to longtime march attendees and gay rights activists who say it's one of many provocative expressions used to regain control of slurs against LGBTQ people. Okay. This did not have the intended effect, I think, Clay, that they wanted, NBC News, because, first of all, what is at the center right now of the LGBT activist debate and the rest of the country? Should children be transitioning medically, whether through hormones or surgery? So there is a coming for the children reality here, and the chanting of this at pride marches, this is not a good look. A lot of people are saying, what is going on here?
I think this is emblematic, Buck, of what I said, I think, yesterday. And I'm not claiming to be an expert in the gay community, but I think there are a lot of gay people listening to us right now. Gay people who voted for Donald Trump are trying to decide who they're going to vote for in the Republican primary. This is not an insubstantial percentage of the gay population. I think it's probably growing. And a lot of these people, I think, are seeing this argument about children having surgeries to affirm their gender, which is what they try to say, and they think it's as crazy as straight people do. Because gay people are raising kids now, and they don't want their 11-year-old to be coming in and saying, I need to get my boobs chopped off, or I need to get my penis removed. Most people believe that biology is real, of all different types and persuasions. And even a lot of trans people, I think, Buck, would say, yeah, under 18 trans surgery or giving people hormones to stop them from going into puberty so that you can change their gender and flood them with estrogen or testosterone or whatever direction it is, it's crazy. And again, this is why I think slowly, and it is happening too slowly for me, we are winning this argument. And clips like those, I think, are going to eventually blow up and create a civil war in the lesbian, gay, larger unity platform, because there's lots of disagreement, I think, in the gay community where people would step back and say, yeah, we shouldn't be chanting, we're coming for your children, and we shouldn't be encouraging young kids to have this gender reassignment surgery. And so this is part and parcel of what I think is ultimately going to occur. This is one of the theses of my book, and I'm an optimist, as you well know, Buck. I think the identity politics eventually collapses on itself because of warring identities, and the oppression Olympics requires that somebody be the supreme victim. And it's easy to say, oh, white men are the problem. But now when you have to sort of self-analyze and look internally, I think what you're starting to see is much of this left-wing craziness is collapsing on itself. Maybe I'm too optimistic, but I think this is emblematic of it, what you see inside of the gay community.